All right, hello everyone. Welcome to our STEAM Passport virtual field trip series. My name is Angela Lee, and I am a student team member from Project Exchange, the organization that is bringing you these field trips today. Our mission is to help every student access a meaningful cross-cultural learning experience as part of their education. So leading our field trip today is Mina, an engineer from Canada and the creator of IronRingGirls, the largest Instagram community of women in engineering. Mina is also the author of Wait, are good grades good enough? A guide for engineering students. Today, she will share her story on how culture, gender, and community identity has shaped her STEAM journey. Mina, it's all yours.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see. Perfect. Okay. So, hi, everyone. My name is Mina. I'm a civil engineer from Toronto, Canada. And I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself. In 2012, I graduated from civil engineering from the University of Toronto. I started working in urban transportation design. So basically what we did was design public transportation areas like mobility hubs, bus routes, train stations, and things like that. I was at that company for 2 years. Right around 2016, I created the Instagram page IronRingGirls. I'm not sure if many of you know what the iron ring is. It's this, I don't know if you can see it, but where it's a tradition in Canada where when you graduate from engineering, they give you this ring. And the story behind it is that there was a bridge in Montreal, Canada, that collapsed many years ago in the 1990s, I believe. And it collapsed because there was some errors in engineering design, and a lot of people passed away because of it. And so what they did is they took from the iron from that bridge, they made these iron rings that they gave to engineers so that every time they sign something or if they're stamping a drawing, their pinky kind of like hits the desk and it makes a sound. And it's a reminder that of their obligations as engineers, to be careful and to remind yourself that you have a duty as an engineer. So that's the story behind the iron ring, and I just called that Instagram page Iron Ring Girls. And it's an Instagram page that's honestly just for fun, and it ended up blowing up, and it is the largest online community of women in engineering. And then I kind of had a career path change right around 2016 where I entered construction. And I've been working in construction development ever since. So what we do is we build residential houses, we build small scale offices and things like that. And at the same time, in 2019, I finished writing my book, Wait, Are Good Grades Enough? And it is a guide for engineering students. So here you can see I'm mostly on site. And for today's presentation, I really want to talk about some of the questions that I get asked a lot. And these are not math and physics and chemistry questions. These are real life questions that I know a lot of students have, whether you're in middle school or high school or university. These are just reoccurring questions that come up to all of us because we're human, and we all know that school can be hard sometimes, and it's certain qualities that we develop at a young age that really does help us later on in the future when we go into the work field and we start working with young professionals. And then at the very end, if you have any other questions, I will be more than happy to answer them. So one of the questions that I get asked very frequently is, I'm actually going to put this down here. Close it. Okay. How do I motivate myself? So I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this where you wake up in the morning and you're not motivated to go to school, you're not motivated to study after school, and you just kind of lack that push or that thing that makes you want to do things. And you ask yourself, how do I motivate myself? And there's so many people out there that are motivational speakers and they talk about tips and tricks on how you can motivate yourself. But what I want to tell you is that motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes. One day you wake up and you're super motivated and you're like, oh, I'm going to do all these things. And another day you wake up and you just want to stay in bed all day. So what I like to do is, instead of relying on motivation to get things done, I like to rely on dedication. And what that means is I have a schedule. For example, in one day, I have a schedule to wake up, brush my teeth, get dressed, go to work, get to work, get X, Y, and Z done. That is my schedule, and I am dedicated to that schedule. Whether I would wake up motivated or whether I wake up not motivated, I am dedicated to that schedule. So instead of focusing on motivating yourself all the time, the focus on dedicating yourself, focus on having a schedule. You go to school from, I don't know, 9 to 2. You come home, you eat, you take a nap, you do homework. That's your schedule. Stick to that schedule. Be organized. And honestly, the more you stick to your schedule and the more things you get done, motivation will eventually come. Because as you do those, have those check marks in your to-do list, that's what's going to create motivation for you. So my tip for you is to be dedicated to your life, to be dedicated to your career and to yourself, with having a schedule. The second question is, what if I burn out? What if I study so much? What if I work so hard that I burn out and I run out of energy and I don't know, what do I do then? So my answer to that is to always, this is what I actually personally do, is to split your time between 3 different things. Number 1 is work or school or your career. Number 2 is your relationships with your friends, with your family, with your partners. And number 3 is time for yourself. So when you learn to manage your time and categorize your time, you'll realize that you'll always end up doing everything that you've wanted to do without burning out. And I literally mean, take a piece of paper and say, Monday from this time to this time, I'm going to focus on school. And from like 7 to 8 p.m., I'm going to focus on myself by, I don't know, going swimming. And then from 4 to 6, I'm going to spend time with my parents, and that's you working on your relationships. So when you write down your time management on a piece of paper and you categorize, you'll see that months are going to go by and you're going to look back and see, oh wow, I've done so much. I've spent time with family and friends. I've spent time on myself, and I've gotten so much done in school and work, because you consciously and with effort had a schedule for yourself and you followed that schedule. And in this way, you're not spending time doing one thing all the time and you're not going to burn out. This is going to show itself, especially when you start working, because when you grow older, you just have more responsibilities and life gets harder. Not that it gets harder, you just have more responsibilities. So the more you learn to manage your time right now, the better it's going to be for you in the future. And the third thing, am I confident enough? This is actually a very personal question that I always used to ask myself. I think we get this a lot, especially in school. We compare ourselves to each other, to our friends or to our classmates or colleagues. And sometimes we might feel like we're not enough or that we're not meant for something. So I'll tell you about my personal experience. When I was in high school, I was a top student. I always got good grades, always on top of everything. And then I went to university for engineering. Now, I know out there they say a lot of things about, oh, girls in engineering, and they ask themselves, is engineering a profession for me? And I honestly believe it really is. But when I went into engineering, my first year, I actually failed an exam. And that was the first time ever that I had failed at an exam. I got like a 48% in computer programming. And, that was very devastating for me because my confidence was dependent on my grades. And that's what I liked. Everyone was always like, Mina's the smart student. Mina's the smart one in the family. And then all of a sudden I went to engineering and I failed an exam, which was quite normal, to be honest with you, because the level of difficulty was so high. And all of a sudden I completely lost all my confidence because I was just depending on these high grades and these A's and A pluses, and all of a sudden that was taken away from me, and I completely lost my self-identity. So what I did was to remind myself that I should be confident because of my ability to try my best and my ability to try again and do the exam again and study again. Grades don't define who you are. Papers don't define who you are. It's those characteristics like your work ethic or your ability not to give up on anything. Like those are the things that matter, and those are the inner things, that inner qualities that you should focus on, that need to give you confidence. So no matter what you come across in school that might make you feel like it destroys your confidence, or it might make you feel like you're not enough, like getting a bad grade or something, don't think that that's shows who you truly are, because it really doesn't. And it might happen to many of you, and it happened to me, and it happened to a lot of my friends. So remember that inner confidence is key. So going to stress, how do I manage stress? I think stress is something that's really, I don't think you can avoid stress in your life. Everybody's stressed. I think whether you're young or you're old, everyone just has stress in their lives. But what's important is to remind yourself how to deal with that stress. Now, I'm going to give you examples. So you are stressed about an exam, okay? And you have the exam tomorrow, and you're super stressed out, and you don't know what to do. And what you do is you turn on Netflix and you start watching an entire season of, I don't know, New Girl. That is a useless action. That's number 2. That's a useless action. Why? Because watching Netflix is not going to help you with your exam. It's not, and that's going to help you. That's going to cause even more stress, because you're going to feel even more unprepared for that exam. So instead of doing a useless action when you're stressed out, try to do a useful action. What does that mean? For example, go over a few practice problems, open up a chapter and read it again. If you feel stressed out and you feel like you're not ready enough, have a study schedule and follow that schedule. So it's very important to realize when you're stressed that you automatically want to kind of ignore that stress and not deal with it and do something like, I don't know, go out with your friends or watch Netflix, but remind yourself that you are doing a useless action and that you need to do a useful action instead. This really can't be helped or made better by any action. For example, you wrote a science exam, you come out of that exam and you're stressed out because you don't know how you did on that exam. And then you're so stressed out that it's going to ruin your next exam the next day. That stress is absolutely useless because you've already written that exam. There's no way of going back, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're going to ruin your next exam. So sometimes, like number 3 here, no action, you really can't do anything about it. Your stress is useless and you can't do anything about it. And in times like that, you have to realize what kind of stress you're feeling, and control it with your actions. I hope everyone's in good shape and I'm not boring anybody. Okay. So I know we hear this a lot, especially on social media and Instagram. Follow your passion, just I hear that a lot. Do what you want, follow your passion. And, what if you don't know what your passion is? Some people know what they want to do when they are extremely young, which is great. I mean, if you're one of those people, that's actually really incredible. But a lot of people don't know what their passion is. They don't know what they like or don't like or what they're good at. I was like that. I had no idea what I wanted to do in school. I mean, I was studying engineering and I got an engineering degree, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that degree. And it really is okay not to know what your passion is. It's really okay not to know what your passion is, because passion can be built. How do you build passion, or how do you find out what it is that you want to do in life? Because trust me, having a career is not just about going to work and getting something done. No, it's about doing something that you enjoy and giving back to a community, and like coming home from a day of work and feeling satisfied. And when you're in school, you might be absolutely clueless as to what you want to do. I mean, like I actually had no idea what I wanted to do with my engineering degree. So my advice is to get out there and experience. When you go to high school, you can have a summer job. When you go to university, have a summer job. You might hate that job, you might love that job, but you won't know what you like and don't like unless you experience it. School is not a representation of what real life is like. So school is not a clear representation of what real life is like. So the more experience you gain earlier, the sooner it'll help you realize what you want to do. And then when you gain experience, you build your skills, you build your character. You realize, oh, maybe I like design, or maybe I like construction. My first job was design and transportation. I didn't really like it, and I did that job for 2 whole years. I developed a lot of skills that I still use today, but I knew that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And then when I started construction, which was completely different, I loved it. And all of a sudden, those skills that I had learned before, and my characteristics that I had built, like my communication skills, my email writing skills, or the ability reading engineering drawings, those skills, they all came together and they made me become the engineer or the project manager that I am today. And if you asked me 3 years ago, Mina, what's your passion? Do you like your job? I would have been like, I don't know. I don't really know. But if you ask me today, I'm like, you know what? I think I actually know what my passion is. And not because I knew it since I was 5 years old. No, because I built it and I worked hard for it. So if you feel lost sometimes and you feel like you don't really know what you're going to do when you leave a science class or biology class, and you're like, what am I going to do with this information? That's totally fine. It's just stepping stones for you to realize who you are and build that career that you genuinely enjoy. And engineering, or honestly any career, is not just about good grades and getting a degree and finding a job. It really is about networking. It's about the people you work with. Starting from your teachers and then your professors in university, and then of course later on when you start working, your coworkers and your managers, they can play such a big role in your life because they'll be your mentors, and be vocal about what you like and what you don't like. Don't let anybody put any stereotypes in your head. I've never felt like engineering and construction wasn't a place for a woman, because I made sure to be vocal and let everybody know that, you know what, I enjoy what I do and that I deserve the opportunities that other people are having. So in the meantime, when you're focusing on your exams and schoolwork, which is great, but at the same time, focus on building your network and honestly, just keeping in touch with old teachers, with professors. They're the ones that you never know down the line who might help you. And lastly, what I want to say is remember to give back to your community. So, and the last point I want to say is, what I always say is, you don't have to be the CEO of a company to inspire other people. You can help the person sitting next to you in class. You can help, if you're in grade 8, you can help someone in grade 7, because to the grade 7ers, you know everything. You don't have to be that successful to help other people. If you see somebody's shy in class and they look lost and uncomfortable, but you understand what the teacher's talking about, help them. Especially when if you go into a career like engineering, yeah, there might be a lot of boys in your class and there might be few girls. And if you see a girl that's, just sitting here by herself and she's shy, go talk to her, go help her. Giving back and getting involved, it can be something as small as, like I said, talking to somebody in your class, or it can be as big as, I don't know, doing a TED Talk. So don't ever think that you can't give back, because sharing your experience with people, you'll be surprised how many people it'll help. I don't have my own company. I still work for somebody. I am not a big CEO. But I share my experience openly on Instagram because that's the platform I use. And by sharing my own experience and my own tips, I help people every day. And the book that I wrote, Wait, Are Good Grades Enough? It's about my entire experience of when I studied engineering. And it gives so many useful tips on like some of the questions that I answered, and you know how I gave you tips after. Like it's just basically the concept is like that, where I want to tell everybody that having doubts and having difficulties, it's normal. It's not just in engineering, it's in any profession really. And if you spend the time to experience and get to know yourself and build your career, it'll actually be a very, very enjoyable process for you. I hope you got something out of this presentation, and I'd be more than happy to answer some of your questions, well, all of your questions. I know somebody asked me something here. What if you have multiple things you like and don't know what to go into? Too many broad interests. Honestly, my answer to that is to experience, because go experience them one at a time. When you start working on real projects and real life, real life projects, you'll realize how different it is than what you had in mind. So until you really experience those fields for yourself, you won't know what you like and don't like. And don't be afraid to jump into something that may sound a little bit scary to you.
All right, so it appears that we have another question. Someone asked, is it bad to not have a network?
Um, well, it's not good. it's I want to say it's bad, but I think having a network really helps. And maybe when you're in middle school or high school, your network is very small because it's really just your teachers and who you go to school with. But as you get older, when you go into university, and especially when you start working, your network is suddenly going to really grow without you even doing much, because you just go to work events. You go to, oh, thank you. You go to work events, or you have colleagues, and you just socialize differently. But my point was to keep that in the back of your mind and understand that it's not all about grades. It's not all about school. I mean, they are important, don't get me wrong. They are very important, and they will get you into good schools. But at the same time, consider building your network. Consider I'm in professional network, so like stay in touch with your teachers, have a LinkedIn account, things like that. So having a network, it really does help. So I highly suggest it. And it won't grow overnight. Trust me, it might take you years to develop a network. So don't worry about it if you feel like you don't have a network right now. But as long as like you'll go to career fairs or just like things here and there. Baby steps. What would you say if what you want to do, thousands of people apply for every year? Um, I don't think you can think like that. I think you have to give it a shot. It's really hard to job, every school, everything you apply for, thousands of other people will apply for. I actually talk about this in my book as well, where I'll tell you about it right now. When I went to university, classes were so different from high school, because in high school we had like classes of 15, 20 students maximum. But in university, you literally will have classes where there are thousands of students, and you feel very lost because there's all these students. Of course, the professor might not even recognize you. They might not even know who you are, or they don't know your name. It's not like high school. And you feel lost. You just feel like one little person out of 1,000 people. And you're like, how is there going to be a job for me? What am I going to do? And you just can't think like that. You have to go every day, do your best, take your time, learn, and figure out what you want to do. And the right opportunity will come for you. And I think that's the mindset to have in your entire career in your life. If you went back to college, what degree would you pursue? Good question. I was actually considering this recently. I really want to because I work in construction and I work with residential structures and commercial structures, I really want to know structural engineering more, like more codes of like design, like design specific. And I would have never thought that I wanted to do this, but the more I work, like I said, I'm gaining more experience. I'm even figuring it out myself. So I'm gaining more experience. I'm realizing what I like and what I don't like. So I think if I go back, it would be for structural engineering, but like a master's in structural, or it would be something more project management related. So still figuring that part out. I want to be an astronaut for NASA. That's incredible. Let me know if they're hiring later. uh, is it hard to switch field or interest if you already spend a while in the first one? Does that put you at a disadvantage because there's others your age who have had more experience than you and you have to start from scratch? This is a really good question and something that a lot of people deal with, actually, a lot of my friends. Because you do something for a couple of years and then you suddenly realize that you don't like it. And I think it's better to pursue something you like, even if people your age might have had more experience in that field. And here's why. Look at your career as a 30, 40, hopefully 50-year lifetime, okay? If you have spent a couple years at the beginning doing something that you don't like, and then you find something you like, you'd rather spend the next 30 years doing that thing that you like, you know? Don't let those first couple of years, because honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you, the first 10 years of your career, it's just going to be you figuring things out, literally. Maybe by the time you're 30 or 35, maybe hopefully then you will find something that you like. But when you do find that thing that you like, you would have built so much character and so many skills from your previous jobs that you'll suddenly grasp that opportunity and you'll be good at it, you know? So don't ever think that any experience is a waste of time. For sure, any experience you gain, whether you like the job or you don't, you will benefit from it in one way or another. You'll strengthen your communication skills, your technical skills, your, network, your ability to read drawings. Maybe you'll just figure out what you don't like, and that's good enough. So don't ever think of it as waste of time, but always go towards that thing that feels right, that you enjoy, because like I said, your career don't look at it in short term, think of it as long term. And the more you invest in figuring things out earlier on, the better it'll be for you in the future.
Actually, I have a question. What is it like being a construction engineer?
So, I'll be very honest, the first maybe 2 years they're very new, okay? The environment is very new because when you work in an office, it's quite similar to when you're in school, you know, you're dealing with computers and emails and drawings and design. But when you're in construction, it's a lot of people skills. You're constantly dealing with different kinds of people. You're dealing with clients, you're dealing with construction workers who might not be so educated. You're dealing with just so many different types of people. And then you're also dealing with real life situations. So problem solving right there and then, you know, it's not like solving a math problem with numbers. It's like seeing something in front of you, like a beam or a column, and having to solve problems right there and then. So it takes practice, I think. It takes a couple of years of being on site, going to construction sites and dealing with those people to really understand the environment. And then you really do learn so much. I personally love it because it's so human. There's so much human interactions that I genuinely enjoy. And being a woman, it's not common, especially when you work in residential construction, which is like smaller scale construction. It's interesting to see people's reactions, but at the same time, and some are mostly they are positive. Some people don't even have reactions, but it's just important to keep in mind what your goals are and not let anybody kind of, you know, get to you or let you feel like, you know, anything negative. But construction I think it's just so enjoyable. It's so interesting. Just watching something come to life. I think it's really fun for me. Did you build your own home? It wasn't my home. So the way I got into construction, I'll actually tell you the story. Um, one of my family members, they wanted to build a house, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna join you in doing that. So we spent 2 years building that house, and that's how I built my network, and that's how I got my job that I have right now in development. And so yeah, that's how I basically started construction. Uh, if you want to enter into a more interesting career path, but not a comfortable test taker with scores, but people say you have the characteristics of someone working in that field, should you be worried? Does someone in the opposite situation has good scores but doesn't have necessary personality skills have a better chance in succeeding? Okay, so I think to be successful in anything, it's a combination of two things. One is your technical knowledge of that subject. And by technical knowledge, I don't mean getting A's and A pluses. I mean like technical knowledge in the work field. And the second thing is your non-technical skills, your communication skills, your ability to present your ideas. Or your verbal communication, written communication, all those non-technical skills. And those are the skills that I really talk about in my book, because although your technical knowledge of a subject is very important, there are certain skills that if you don't have them, you might not even, you might not get too far in your career. Like the simple things I just mentioned, like how to motivate yourself, how to have a work ethic, how to manage your time. Like these are very valuable skills that you need as a person to be able to apply that technical knowledge in your career. So I think if you focus on both, then and you gain experience and you find what you enjoy doing, that's when that's when the fun begins.
It seems like we don't have any questions coming in, so let's end on one last question then. If you could go back and say one thing to your middle or high school self, what would you say?
My middle or high school self. You know what? I would say don't worry about missing out. So I was the kind of person that studied so much, and I really did care about my grades, and I don't regret it. And I think everybody should care about their grades. Um, but I always felt like I was missing out. I felt like I was missing out on, that high school experience or that middle school experience, or when my friends went out or if they went to parties, sometimes I would miss them because I was studying for exams. And I would go back and tell myself, honestly, don't worry about that stuff. Like life is so much more than those things. You spend time with your friends, you spend with time with your family. You don't have to do everything with everybody. You can say no. You can say no to parties. You can say no to going out if you're focusing on your career and yourself. That's it's okay. So I would just really tell myself to just chill, like breathe. You're not missing out, and like focus on yourself, because it pays off the more you. And when I say focus on yourself, I don't just mean I don't like study all the time. I mean, no, like spend time for yourself, read a book, watch a movie, spend time with your mom and dad. I don't know, like small things like that. And I would just tell myself to relax a little bit on the whole, ooh, I'm missing out on the whole like high school, middle school experience.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mina, for being a virtual field trip speaker. We're all really super inspired by your story and all of your tips. They're going to be really, really helpful to all of us.
Good, I'm glad.
So,
Thank you for having me.
of course. So have an amazing rest of your day, everyone. Bye.